CASA, which we'll get into that in just a second. And also, Chief John Hayden from the St. Louis City Police Department. Welcome to both of you. It's nice to have you here.
Thanks for joining us.
It's an honor to be here.
Very good. Thanks. We'll see when we get finished if you're I'm just kidding. Tell us about CASA, because that's sort of the thrust that we're trying to get into this whole interview with. What's it about?
Our organization is actually Voices for Children, and we are the CASA, or Court Appointed Special Advocate program, that serves the court jurisdictions in St. Louis City and St. Louis County. So we have professionals on staff, social workers and attorneys, and they supervise a cadre of more than 300 volunteers from the community who come from all walks of life, and those volunteers go through training and then advocate for children who are in foster care due to abuse and neglect. So there are children who have been removed from their homes, and the advocates visit with them and advocate to make sure that they get whatever services they need, so that foster care really kind of becomes a time of healing for them, and not just a situation that they linger in with really no direction for their future.
And Chief Hayden, I'm going to assume that the police department here in St. Louis works with CASA. You probably have frequent interactions between the two organizations.
Yes, sir. So the police department comes in on the front end of foster care. We have a child abuse and neglect unit, and naturally they respond to hotline calls. And so they are the persons that are the first voice for the voiceless, and then of course they get into the court system and get assigned a court-appointed special advocate.
There are hundreds of children, though, in foster care, right?
Yes.
From babies to probably teens that are going to be aging out pretty soon. And you said you have about 400 volunteers. So you don't have enough volunteers for the hundreds of children who need to be represented.
Right, and on any given day, there's probably about between 1,600 and 1,700 children who are in care, and we on any given day are usually generally able to serve about 600 to 700 of those. So there's approximately 900 to 1,000 children that are in need of an advocate. So we are always looking for volunteers, and of course, as the development director, I would be remiss if I didn't also put a plug in there for fundraising. It really is kind of a matter of the more funds we have, the more support staff we can have to supervise those volunteers, and the more children we can advocate for.
All right, so I'm sure there's a web page. Why don't you use that right now?
Sure,
that'd be helpful.
voices-stl.org, and you can find out more about our organization and how to plug into that volunteer opportunity.
Kelly and I were talking, Chief, about the article that I read about you. You would set up shop and put a card table out, and I guess an umbrella on time, so that you could go to the various neighborhoods and sit and chat with people.
Yes.
And you're still able to do that?
I am able to do it. In fact, the Switch organization actually wrapped a little truck for me, so now I'm able to actually do that citywide. That's my mobile office concept.
And you get air conditioning.
Absolutely.
See, there's the sell point right there. A couple of questions about staffing for the department right now.
Okay.
I know there was a note that there was a new group of officers who graduated from the academy. What's the status there, and what's your staffing level right now for the city of St. Louis?
So staffing right now, we're 130 officers down. And so the main issue is that our attrition rate and our hiring rate are pretty much equal. And so we have been unable to close that gap in the past several months. One thing we're doing is the Police Foundation just adopted a cadet program for us, and so we'll be able to reach kids 18, 19, and 20. They'll be kind of do internships with the department. There'll be some tuition reimbursement involved, and so they'll kind of get exposed to police life. We also have our Ethical Society actually has a pre-academy program, and they actually show persons that are interested in law enforcement what it is like to be in the academy. They show them some physical training as well as some academic training to help them out. And then also we've expanded our normal recruitment program. So normally we're just able to recruit within the St. Louis metropolitan area, but Police Foundation gave us additional money so that we can do some more advertising as well as attend more career days.
Because the big thing would be police officers being out in the community and reaching a lot of these young people.
Absolutely, and you're right. We can do a lot of our recruiting by just personal contact, and we talked about the mobile office. We've been doing a lot more community engagement under my administration, my first 100 days, and so we're looking to make a lot more personal contact and make some positive relationships.
Do you expect to see more monies coming to the department's way, given the parking situation? And there was a court ruling recently that said basically that the persons running that department, they just basically can't keep that money. That's going to have to go back into city coffers. Do you see that you might potentially end up with more money in the long run on this?
I would certainly hope so. I don't know if any of that money would be earmarked for police services, but I would certainly like to hope that we would be able to benefit from that.
I want to ask Regina one more question about CASA and volunteers. How much of a time commitment is it? What type of training do you have to go through?
Well, we require our volunteers to go through a background screening, criminal background check, that sort of thing. And then they go through 30 hours of pre-service training. And then the monthly commitment is usually, we say, about 5 to 15 hours, and some of that kind of depends on the complexity of the case and whether or not you're serving one child or if you're serving a sibling group. And I just have to put a plug in for this evening. We have our gala over at the Chase Park Plaza at 6 o'clock, and Chief Hayden is going to be our keynote speaker, which if anyone's out there wondering why we are on together, that would actually be why.
Nice.
He's going to be speaking about the local situation tonight.
And one more time, the webpage for you folks.
Voices-stl.org.
Very good. Thank you so much for coming by. Regina Bennett is with CASA and Chief. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, sir.
And I bet you're going to put a fresh shirt on by this evening. It's
I'll
going to be a long day.
I will certainly put on fresh items.